Could the warning ever replace or potentially even add a member? This is not a rumor video. This isn't speculation about breakups or departures. In fact, this is the opposite. I'm just going to explore the idea of whether or not the warning could possibly add or lose a member. Because whenever a band becomes important enough, this question eventually comes up. Not because fans want change, but because history tells us that change is often inevitable. Rock history is full of bands that survived critical lineup shifts, including new drummers, new guitarists, and even new lead singers. And sometimes these changes even work to the advantage of the band. There's another category of bands where replacing a member doesn't just change the sound, it destroys the essence of that band. So the Warning is still a young band. They're very creative. They're clearly unified, not only by music, but by blood. So why am I asking this question at all? Well, they've reached a level where people are now thinking of them in terms of being a seminal band, being one of the big bands of their generation. So we know that bands reach a certain level. There is sometimes an instability that goes with that. I'm not trying to spread rumors here or fear. I'm just saying sometimes bands do experience turbulence as they gain momentum. Now, here is a key point about the Warning. The Warning isn't built on roles like you are the drummer, you are the bass player, you are the singer. It's built on individual identity. So let's break that down. Danny is the voice, the language, the front of the emotional translation for the band. She is a guitarist and a singer, and she's great in those roles. But more importantly, she's the bridge between the emotion of the band and the response of the audience. Her phrasing, her tone choices, the way that she lets her melody sit inside of the band's heavy arrangement is something nobody else could do. Another great guitarist could play her notes, another great singer could hit her pitch, but the language of the Warning would be absent without her presence. Now, Paulina is often described as a powerhouse, and she is, but she is also the gravitational center of the band, not just rhythmically, but psychologically. Her playing doesn't just drive songs, it anchors them, and more than that, she projects authority. Not ego, but authority. And her charisma isn't transferable to another drummer. In fact, there's never been another drummer like her. So if you were to replace her, you would lose something that you could not make up for. Now, Alejandra is the glue of the band. She is the easiest member to underestimate, which is exactly why I'm going to say right off the top that she is irreplaceable. She connects the rhythm to melody, she stabilizes the complexity of the band, and she is the quiet charisma that I've talked about many, many times. Bands collapse all the time, not because they lose stars, but because they lose the glue that holds them together. And she is the glue in regard to the Warning. Now this brings me to a point that some of you may find strange. Rush. And why does this comparison matter? Well, Neil Peart passed away and something unusual happened. Fans didn't argue about whether Rush could continue musically. They argued whether Rush should continue. And when discussions emerged about drummers like Annika Niles, a phenomenal musician, the backlash followed not because she's not good enough, but because Neil Peart was viewed as being irreplaceable by many fans. The issue was never skill, it was identity, and this is the exact same category that the Warning occupied. So what about adding a member on keyboards or second guitar or maybe even a second percussionist? Powell could come out and be a frontwoman more often. Here's the problem with that. The Warning's power comes from not the number of musicians that they have, but the fact that every member is already occupying an emotional space. So adding another voice wouldn't enhance that, it would dilute it. The triangle they have right now is perfectly balanced. You don't want to change the physics at all. So what does this all mean? It means that bands like the Warning that are perfectly balanced don't often last forever unchanged, and that's okay. But when you're living inside one of those rare eras where there is a lineup like this with chemistry that's alive and creativity that's flowing, it's a good time to slow down and recognize it and value what we have while it's here. Because when I get back to the central question of the video, could the warning replace a member? No, I don't think so. And more importantly, I don't think they would ever try. Because what makes the warning special isn't just how well they play, it's who they are and who they are together. And that's something that can't be faked, it can't be rebuilt, and it can't be made up for in the event that one of the members decides to move on to another project. What we can do as fans is experience it and cherish it while it's here. And if you look at the response to the band that's out there, you can see this is exactly what's going on. So now I'd like to hear from you. Do you think it's conceivable that the warning could replace a member? And what do you think would be lost if they try? And do you think that the example of the warning is a good one to use in respect to what's going on with Rush right now? Let me know in the comments.
MusicGuru here, asking you to help us on our march to 10,000 subscribers.